Hello and welcome to Girl Awakening YouTube. I'm Jo Hendy.
And I'm Amanda Parker. Enjoy this episode of Girl Awakening in all of its vulnerable sacredness.
And remember to subscribe and share.
Hello, I was waiting for you to say hello then.
I was going to jump in, but I didn't quite get it out fast enough.
Good morning, Amanda.
Hey, Jo. Here we are, Girl Awakening podcast with somebody from not local to us, but very much present in the world.
Like a sister.
Like a sister, yeah.
Yes.
We're a bit excited to have Rebekah Lipp with us today on Zoom. We're going to introduce you to her and then dive right in with our beautiful Beck. Beck is creator of Wilding Books. She has a passion to bring awareness to the mental health of children from her own personal story. After going through 2 years of cognitive behaviour therapy and dialectical behaviour therapy, after ending up in a crisis in her early 20s, when it usually always happens, or any time is a good time, Beck felt there was a real gap in what the professionals knew and what parents and teachers needed to know. Beck feels strongly that we can empower our children with skills to help prevent them from ending up in crisis like she did. Using the skills she has learnt throughout her journey with anxiety, depression, self-harm, body dysmorphia, and borderline personality disorder, she is creating amazing books, with messages to help children connect with their emotions and learn ways to regulate their emotions. Thanks for joining us, Beck. Thanks for being here.
I'm really honoured to be here with you too.
Yay! We're excited too because we love your books. They're amazing. They're not only for kids as well. So for our listeners, you'll be able to jump on Beck's Instagram and site afterwards and check them out because they are really special books.
Hopefully they'll be coming all across Australia soon too, and all the bookshops. So that could be happening very soon. A big deal. I can't talk too much about it, but yes, we're getting approached by publishers all around the world. Just the other day, it was a publisher in Kyiv, in Ukraine, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, asking about publishing rights for How Do I Feel? So, yeah, the books are really helping, and the word's kind of spreading organically, around the world. Which is pretty
and it's so needed too, Bex. It's like, not that we forget about our kids, but in the realm of where you go into that vulnerable space, it really needs to be acknowledged and spoken about probably more. And through books is so wonderful, especially with children.
Yeah, I think having children really brings a lot of these things to the surface. I don't know if you found that, but, I think when you have children, you are emotionally triggered a lot.
That's an understatement.
Yes.
It's a beautiful
I think when I created these books, and I'm a co-creator of Wildling Books, I do it with Craig. We both, started the business, but you kind of going through this journey with your children because, you have these stages in your life, you're the maiden at the start and it's just you, and then you become this mother, and like it tears you apart in a way. And then you've got to, I found that I had to do a lot of healing whilst having children, like dealing with my children. And I've got a few that are like me, a couple that are like me. So that was really triggering but awesome as well, because I was able to give them, the things that maybe I would have been great to have got. And so I try and put these things into the books that we create. Yeah. So to help others.
So amazing. And, and what you mentioned, Craig, the illustrations are fantastic. I mean, he
writes as well, so he's written some of them and illustrated all of our work. He's pretty amazing. Just like, he makes me laugh like no other. Him and his wife and his kids lived with my husband and I and my kids. We all lived together for 3 years.
Wow.
And it was awesome. Yeah.
I bet.
I had a wife and it was great. I highly recommend it. It's great.
I know what you mean. We actually have a similar thing where, you know,
Yes.
relationships and things, but we feel like we're, you know, have that.
Married.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't have those perks, but you know, we were all living together, and our kids, because we all homeschool, all of our kids are a little bit, you know, neurodiverse, and yeah, so it was really, really fun, and creatively it was really cool to have Craig and his wife Laura as well, who does a lot of the art design. Yeah, and so yeah, it was just really great. But so he writes some of them as well. I tend to come up with all the concepts of it, you know, how the book, you know, maybe what it'll be called, and the overall themes of it. And sometimes I get, you know, rhymes of things will pop into my head, and then I'll go, hey, can you do something with this? The last few, I think, as my confidence has grown, I've written myself. So
I
love that. Well done.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a great segue to jump in.
Yes.
And start. So, Bex, how did your awakening begin?
It's interesting. I had I would say, quite an awakened grandmother. And I've put this a little bit in the intuition book that I was really guided to make. As I speak to you now, I'm looking above, and there's a picture of me and my nana together. She's passed away a while ago now, but she grew up in the Gorbals in Scotland, which were horrendous slums. They were the worst slums in Europe. She is the kindest soul I've ever met. And everyone would fight over my nana. People would call her nana that, you know, weren't related to her. Anyway, she was a very psychic, spiritual woman. She was Catholic as well, and so there was always the Pope and Mother Theresa on the walls.
Yeah.
But she would do seances, and she would read tea leaves, and I remember being very young, and her telling me that I had a healing aura all around me, and that I was going to be a healer. And it was really interesting because as a very young girl, I was a very difficult child, and I used to, from as young as I can remember, think that the universe revolved around me, and I used to try and get this concept out without sounding like, you know, I'm the center of the universe, it's all about me. It was more like we all are the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And I used to try and explain this, and I'm, you know, saying like 5 years old, you know, when I go to sleep at night and I close my eyes, everything stops.
Oh wow.
And you know, and I was quite aware that, you know, like, what's happening to me, where am I going when I sleep? And I also must have been quite an empath in that I would take on all these emotions from everybody else, and I didn't understand what was happening. So I was filled with rage a lot, you know, and got into, you know, it was really, really quite difficult childhood. And again, from 5, I would try to kill myself. I hope I can say that. Try and drown myself in the bath. Everything was extreme for me. So I would run away a lot. I would do weird things like when my pop passed away, he sort of fell down and had a heart attack in front of my nana. I was holding my nana's hand, and she was holding my little sister, and my mum was trying to resuscitate him. And then I would just be getting up, sleepwalking, going into the lounge. My nana and my mum and her sisters were there, and I'd be saying, you know, I love you, mum, it's going to be okay. And I would be completely asleep, you know. I just do weird things, you know, like that. But my mum isn't so on board with those type of things. And so, yeah, I just, as a teenager, you know, just kind of locking in all of feeling a bit weird. I never really felt like I belonged on Earth. I don't know if that sounds completely bizarre to people,
No,
but
not to us.
I really have never felt like I'm from here. Like, it hasn't felt like home. And yeah, it's just always been like a struggle for the longest time. So I never really knew who I was. So my teenage years was filled with self-harm, you know, this body dysmorphia. I always thought that I was so hideous. There were periods where I wouldn't want to leave the house because people would be laughing at me. And, you know, it was really, really difficult. I was put on Prozac at 16, and that it made me more suicidal. You know, so came off that. And that's when things started really spiraling in my early 20s. You know, you just try and get through and you struggle through. And I met now he's my husband. Things were great. You know, I was working 3 jobs, high performing, like doing well, and just everything just fell apart.
Yeah.
And then I was really self-harming badly, suicidal, you know, and my husband, then boyfriend, was like, you need to go and sort this out, because he was really struggling with me. We'd only just been, you know, seeing each other, and that's when I actually got the help. But around that time, it was really bizarre, because I was actually, hallucinating. And I think I was just, my brain was just so overwhelmed that it just wasn't functioning that great. But then I had these moments of almost clarity where I would have signs that were just so, and you know, and I remember, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with anyone, I was driving home in the car, and it was night time, and I could see my face, a reflection of my face, and it spoke to me, and it said, I am God. You are God. And it just gave me this message of hope that that we are all God, and we're all connected, and that everything will be okay, and you're on a journey that is leading somewhere really important. So that really helped. And I had moments like this that came, you know, cropped up, but that one was really important one for me. And I've never really kind of shared that, because I always had this sort of, oh, woo woo was bad, and you know, a bit crazy sort of, you know, but I'm really starting to embrace all of that now. And that's where it led me to this book where I wrote about intuition. And I said to Craig, please just let me go with this, because I know it's really different from the children's books, but I have this really overwhelming need to create this. And start letting some of what's inside me out. So
that's such an incredible share, Beck, and you just feel the depth of the journey that you just shared. Is you just, the depth of that journey, and the struggle to be here on this earth when you are a light being, or you know, all these things that now we have better understanding of, or better connections with. But when you're going through it and you're surrounded by woo-woos crazy, you're very disconnected to that beautiful part of yourself.
Yeah, I feel really guided, and I think that's why I wanted to make the book, because it says intuition, it holds the answers you seek. Because I feel like the more that I tap into and listen to what is coming from inside, that's what's created, you know, the books are being sparked from that. The people that I feel drawn to and connected to, they come to me for a reason, like Craig. And, you know, it's like, you know, I was so lost for so long, and now you know, just before this, I've been in my garden, and I know what feeds my soul. That maybe if I'm not even from Earth or whatever, but I know that when I have my feet on the grass and I'm in there in the garden, and I love trees, and now that I'm allowing space for me to really connect with those things, I feel more and more me, you know.
It's so beautiful, and exactly with what you're saying around, you know, the people that you draw in, and the beautiful not coincidences, but you know, we call them coincidences, but they're not.
Well, it's like synchronicity, I think, you know, it's like when your energy is at a certain level. And I think I didn't realize that I was actually quite good at that. I'm really good at like motivating and bringing this energy, a higher energy, and other people feed off that. And so often it's not me creating the wonderful things. I can spark things to be created, and other people feed off that energy. It's really quite amazing. Sometimes I look back and I just can't believe the things that have happened to me. I just and you know, when I started my recovery, you know, it took a while for me to be able to do the whole gratitude thing. I don't know if you know, in my past I set up a gratitude journal business, and so we did quite well with that. I couldn't do gratitude journaling or any of that sort of thing at the start because I was in a whole lot of hurt. It was very hard to function, let alone be grateful for things. But once I was able to sort of get into that space, I don't need to journal at all anymore. I live that. I absolutely live in a way. My husband is the same, where we constantly checking how good it is at this, you know, like, you know, my house needs to be renovated and all of that, but we have to we're like, wow, look at where we live, and how lucky am I to have these 3 beautiful boys. And that energy and that vibration of that, I think, draws in all these remarkable things into my life and people. And so I try to always live that way now.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And when you say, you know, you look back at your life and you say, I can't believe what I've gone through, it's like all of those things you were supposed to walk through to, you know, to kind of show how strong you are. And then to have that one moment where you reflected on you, God, the God within, and have that amazing magical moment to let you know that, no, you're right on track.
I can't tell you how many moments I've had like that where, and it's been things like, you know, I just have this rage and I'm not sure where it is, but there's definitely in my throat. And I hold it there and I'm not sure where it's from. And my boys, they just think they love me and I love them, but I'll be out there howling at the moon and doing things like this. You know, just trying to let this out of me, okay, boys? And
I love that.
Yeah,
I feel like there's been other lives, or you know, that I have not been able to speak freely, or and that's what's sitting here in me. So now that's why when I have these ideas of creation of the intuition books and things, I'm just really allowing myself to just go for it now, because maybe previously I haven't been able to.
You know what's funny? Just even with you just saying that just then, exactly everything you just said just then, because there's a lot of you know, people talking about a lot of channelers being brought through now, or not being brought through, they're here, but they're being activated. And we actually had a lady on a few weeks back who's also an author, and she's wrote a book called Anethea. She wrote it 12 years ago, but she's only just kind of released it now. And it's everything that you're talking about. It's like we could be sitting in front of her as well. It's like this channel. Yeah.
From the spirit of what you're sharing about yourself, like the nature spirit, the connection that we've been grounded, and this force that's within you that has to come through and share your gift. And bringing it through your books.
And some people are it's coming through being able to, you know, fully verbally channel. Some people it's, you know, writing and being an author and writing books that are channeled through you from, you know, lifetimes.
Yeah, I really want to draw at the moment, and I can't really. Well, you know, I haven't really drawn, and it's really funny because I had a reading by a lady who's really quite remarkable. I had to wait a long time to see her, and just like she was like, you have to draw. I was like, really? I've been feeling that. She's like, you have to. And all these lives that she brought up, I was either an author or an illustrator, painter. But it's really funny. One of them, I was mute.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't know if that was, you know, something that with the whole throat thing. But Yeah, like I'm just really, I just feel like there's so much healing that needs to be passed out. There's so much hurt, and I feel it and I soak it up from the world. And I'm just I have to be careful, because I think that's what happened as a child. You know, I would suck it all in and it would just explode out of me, and you know, I'd get into a lot of trouble. So now I'm trying to channel that through, you know, writing and things like that, better out, you know, ways to express that out of me, but in a way where I really feel like the books that I write, I want to for people to understand that we are all connected. Like, I just don't, you know, I just feel that we are, and that not just everybody else, but when I go into the garden and I touch a tree, I feel this energy, and it just, you know, I just wish that other people could feel what I feel. Yeah.
A lot more.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing that too.
Oh yeah. I think it's the energy that nobody can, who's in this, whose lifetime is about this. It's an energy that none of us can resist anymore. Like, it's about, like, you've created this space where you have an outlet with your books and the relationships you have with the people around you, and you know what you've been sharing with publishers and things coming to you. It's like the energy is there for you. So it's a
waiting.
Yeah, they've been waiting. We've all been waiting for what you have.
Yeah. And it's really crazy, because I released the book, you know, and it's really quite different to the kids' ones, you know, woo-woo, you know, like the books are very much based on the cognitive behavioral therapy that I learnt. And I didn't know how it would go. And honestly, it is just being received so well. And, you know, I get messages saying that they love, you know, pulling a card every day and how spot on it is. And, you know, I didn't I just let all of that just come to me. And it just, you know, I felt like it was almost, I'm just writing what being told to write, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll just let that out in the world, and hopefully I won't be criticized because you know, like, that shouldn't be, you know, that symbolism shouldn't be with this, or we definitely just go with our instincts and our intuition. You know, with Craig, with the writing, the illustrations as well, like, he just, like, the pictures are, you know,
incredible,
so amazing.
They're very mythical, but they're also very current, but the dynamic energy in them is, you can feel it.
Yeah,
he really enjoyed changing up and illustrating those.
So much fun.
Yeah, so that's when you talk about this with the world. So when did you first notice a shift in your thoughts about the world, Beck?
I really think from when I was like little, really little. But it was nobody, you know, I had my nana, so she was that, and you know, she predicted some really crazy things, you know. And you know, she read tea leaves once to my auntie who'd had her tubes tied, and she said, oh, you're going to have 2 more children. And then after my nana died, she'd married again, and she married again, but then she ended up adopting 2 more children. And it was just like weird, like, you know, it didn't happen straight away, but her prediction, she'd always predict when somebody was going to have a baby. And because she was, you know, Glaswegian, she'd say, oh, I got a wee in here, you know, this wee in, you know, she's got red hair, she's beautiful, Karen, she's yours. And then, you know, the next thing, one of my aunties would be having a red-haired daughter, and, you know, but just, you know, and then she'd have dreams of things, you know, bigger events that would happen. But yeah, she really opened that up to me. And so I have this really weird thing where I feel like you can believe God, like, because Nana was Catholic, right, and be spiritual. But then I realized that actually a lot of people don't like this type of thing, that, you know, you know, I've had a few comments and things that, you know, the only book you need to follow is God. And it's really interesting because in actual fact, doing this work has led me to God more.
Yeah.
And because I wasn't raised with any religion. My mum's Catholic. She's born in Scotland. I was born in Scotland as well. I know I don't sound it, but I came here as a baby to New Zealand. But there's this. I think that I've got very much Celtic and Viking blood in me.
Yeah.
And when you go back, they were. It's just like my Nana. Like, did she really? If there were witches, maybe Nana would have been one. I don't know, but she just was. Just so she opened my eyes from a very young age, and I feel her with me all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I know she's with me and helping guide me. But so really from really young, like I always knew there's something more. There's something more. And then I would read books like 3 Magic Words. Have you read that?
No.
Okay, you need to read it.
Yes, we're writing that one down.
That changed my life a bit. And I was like, oh, that's what I've been thinking my entire life since I was a little girl. It made sense to me. And the messages that I was getting in the car, it was like, I am God.
Oh, wow.
We are all God. We're all part of God. And, we're learning the lessons and, together, and trying to elevate and,
yeah, I love it.
To a higher level. So I think it's been something I've really been working on. The times where I've tried to suppress it, that's when I've been sick.
Yes.
That's when I was mentally unwell. And I think wasn't even really all the diagnoses that I got. It was because I was so disconnected. When you are disconnected from the source that's within you, and like I feel it right now talking to you, it's in my throat again, it's right here, and it comes up and it just sits in here. It's like fire. When I talk about the source within me, the God element within me, I know everyone has that, and I just wish we could all experience that, because then we would love each other so much more. And so I think when I just was disconnected from that feeling and that connection with myself and the earth, I'm always like Mother Earth is always there for me. That's when I've been unwell.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I think that's a major
when you look at the stats, right?
Yes.
Of mental health right now, there's this huge disconnection. I think that's the biggest thing. The key is this disconnection.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why we wanted to start the podcast, because there was a lot of people out there confused about what they were feeling. And then they would hear or read something and think that was happening wrong, or it wasn't, what was happening to them. They had to have a diagnosis for it, or it's like, oh no, you're just coming through something. You're, having an awakening. You're rebirthing. You're coming back to source. You're listening more to you. And it's funny how we come through. Sometimes a lot of people come through families that are there to work against it, to make it a little trickier for you, because you are strong enough to stand and go, no, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. I just need to keep going. There's magic on the other side.
I definitely battled that as a child.
Yeah.
I was bullied relentlessly. Back then you were just smacked if, you were naughty, and, my behavior was very naughty. I had teachers that bullied me. I was very much a target a lot. But then I rebelled. I just felt injustice all the time. And, lately there was a boy who was my best friend called Bradley. I really wish I could find his mother. Bradley had cerebral palsy. I feel him right now. He passed away. Obviously, he didn't live that long. But I tell you, if anyone could bully me, and it was, I just whatever. But if anyone tried to bully him, I'd fight. I would absolutely fight. And I felt this injustice all the time. And I had one teacher at intermediate say to me, you'd be such a good lawyer because you just defend people that really needed help. So it was always there, you know. I always was attracted to, you know, the likes of Bradley, who I loved that boy. And I used to think he was so cool because he didn't have to walk and do PE, and he had this really cool electric wheelchair. Like, you know, as a child,
Yeah.
you think that, you have no concept, but to me he was amazing. Yeah, but so I always had this injustice, and I was always rebelling and fighting. It's like, this doesn't make sense, you know. But you constantly being told that's wrong, that you've got to conform, you've got to be this way, this is how society needs you to be, and it just never felt right. And so that's that returning back to that source, that God in me, that's why I just have such an amazing life now, because that's where I've returned to. And when I just hope through the work that I do that others can start experiencing and trusting themselves. Really, you know, you're on your path, your journey, and it doesn't need to make sense to other people around you, and that you just need to trust. And like, if you're able to just be quiet and still for a moment, and you can ask yourself things, you'll feel it. You'll feel the answers, the yeses or the nos. I put the sway test, you know, the sway test where you can ask yourself yes or no questions. I put that into intuition, just to try and, like, you could try these things where, you know, if you stand still and you ask yourself a question, whether you fall forward as a yes and no, you know, and the more that you tune into yourself, how they'll get really accurate.
Yeah. How beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so amazing to have tools like that are within ourselves and building relationship with ourselves, so that we can always, as you know, that big word, trust. When we ask ourselves a question, the relationship is there, and it takes practice, and it takes a love of self to just want to create those minutes every day to ask those questions and practice, doesn't it?
And being allowed to love yourself, because see, that was something you're not allowed to do that, you know. That's not, and it's not even confidence. I mean, I really didn't have any confidence, but being able to love that light in you, you know, and being able to have that space of, you know, that anyway, I just, you know, that's something I've really had to work on, because there was so much self-loathing and unhappiness with who I was, and that's really started to melt the more, you know, that I've come back. And it's not about loving how you look on the outside, whatever. It's like just that connection.
It's that knowingness, isn't it? It's that knowingness that you already have everything inside that you need.
Yeah. And I think, like what you said before around, you know, just what you just said then around loving the light in you, and knowing when you're a child that, you know, about what I think, what did you say that was really beautiful around we are all the center of the universe. That feeling when you're a child, and as you get older,
it's stamped out of you, isn't it?
It's seeped out of you, and it can be judged by others as, why do you think you're special? What makes you so special? And then you kind of, it's that negative talk that we adopt to go, oh, I'm not special, I'm not a light, I'm not anything in the universe. And it's, you know, this
that making small and that disconnecting again. I love that quote by Rumi, we're not a drop in the ocean, we are the entire ocean in a drop. I mean, I think if we all realized, again, it comes back that we are all the center, we are a part of God. And you know, when you actually sit with that, and if you really sit with that and feel that I've got God's source, or whatever you want to call it, you know, I have the universe, or, you know, collective consciousness is within me. And if you really feel that, you can't not love yourself. Like, there's this love that just comes out. And you know, I got taught transcendental meditation about 25, a long time ago, about 25 years ago, and I was doing it religiously for about 6 months, and I experienced lifting out of my body and sitting above it and feeling this weighted body under me. There's moments like that where I think that, you know, it's there for us, like it's
available.
It's there. We just need tools, or whatever tool it is that works for you, to tap into that. Yeah. And I think yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's
spirit.
You listening to people like you, and I can think of, you know, other women that we've had on that share the same experience around finding that love within brings certainty. A lot of the ladies use the word certainty of who I am, which to me, when you have true certainty, that's the true love of self, where you know, it doesn't matter where you go, you've just got that certainty that comes with you always.
Yeah, I always felt like there was a period of time where I'd sold out of one business and I really wasn't sure what I was supposed to do, and I was like, can somebody tell me what I need to do? What's my path? Like, what I know I've got to do something. And so many women have this, I want to help, but what do I do? And I've got to a point where I don't actually need to know that answer, because it all unravels. And if somebody had told me, oh, this is what you need to do, maybe I wouldn't have gone on the way that I needed to. And so I try so hard to instill in my boys to marvel at the ordinary and to at the mundane, and to every day, you know, soak in the goodness, I guess.
Love the woo-woo.
they like, I know, actually it's really interesting because my youngest, he's 10, and now he's like, it's true, Mum, what you say does happen, because he's done a few things where I'm like, so I keep trying to say, just careful, you know, when you're in an angry mood all the time, you know, just notice, you know, what happens to you. Do you bump into things? Does your day get better or does it get worse? And I just sort of ask him to step back and notice. And as he's getting older, he really is. And he's like, that's, you know, and he starting to see. And I said, so your thoughts and your words are really powerful, honey. So, you know, because he'd always used to say, my brother's made me angry. And I go, no, your brother didn't make you angry. You are angry, you know, but you can let that go and look at why you felt that way. And yeah,
how beautiful.
Best toolkit you can give them, really. It's amazing.
Yeah, I wished I had it. And you know, to be fair, I learn with them as I try to, and that's when with all the books that we've created for children, I write parent-teacher notes at the back to try and to elaborate a bit more about what the book's about, to help the parents work through it with the children, because we didn't learn the stuff, we didn't learn how to regulate how we feel, or why am I feeling this way, and like processing that too. But actually one of the cards in the book is observe, and being the observer, and I feel that that's a really powerful thing that I teach my children, and it's what I need to do all the time. It's one stepping back and noticing the things that I have, and noticing what I'm doing and how I'm on automatic pilot something. So sometimes stepping back and having that feeling, and I love it. I go into my head, and you know, like notice that there's somebody that hears me saying no, and I'm like, and
I'm gonna just stop for a second, because it's echoing a little bit, and what you're saying is
it's so powerful,
so incredible. We don't want anyone to miss it, but we're gonna just it's come back again. Must get a little bit of a lag. Must get a little bit of a lag, yeah. So we'll go back to the observe card. Do you remember all what you just said?
I don't know. I always find that taking time to step back into that observer where I don't know if you've seen the card, but Craig drew a picture of a woman and we use a crone woman, so a wise woman, because I feel like we need to bring her back into society as I'm excited as I'm leaving my mother stage into the crone stage because there's a wisdom that we don't cherish enough. Anyway, so the picture of Observe is an older woman, but inside her head is her again standing there, watching as the water flows through. And I feel like we need to step back and really observe our thoughts. And this is something that I learned in cognitive behavioural therapy. Yeah, you go on automatic pilot sometimes.
So you were sharing about the observer?
So yeah, one of the cards in our oracle deck or in the intuition book is observer, and it's one that I use this all the time. And the picture is of an older woman, the crone woman, the wise woman, and she's got her eyes closed, but inside is her again, and she's got her eyes open. And I want it to signify that there's something else behind our thoughts that is watching and listening. So I, said sometimes I'll check myself because I'll say hello in my head, and then I notice that the observer heard that. And it's quite it can be a difficult concept, I guess, to grasp, but who is the observer? And for me, the observer is that light within, the God source, that feeling, that energy within me. And so when I start getting carried away, my thoughts aren't great or my energy's off, I try to fall back and I say hello. And I allow the observer to notice. And this was something I had to learn when I was doing my cognitive behavioral therapy, because I had to learn to notice my thoughts and the patterns in my life in order to break them or change them. And it was a powerful concept. And this is the latest children's book that we just released called Aroha's Choice. And it is about the pathways in your brain. And she learns that she can build new pathways, that she doesn't have to use the paths that she's always traveled along because it's easy. She can, and it's hard, create new paths that lead her to different outcomes.
Wow.
And so that is being the observer and going, I don't like where these thoughts always take me. This thought will lead me to act this way or yell, and then that spirals. This whole situation comes from these chains of thoughts. And if you can just notice and be the observer at any point along there and step back and notice, then you can change the thought that you have or the behavior, and that can lead you to a different outcome. And that took me years to learn because I was in such a bad space. But I think, again, if I come back to the more connected I am with myself and my source within me, it's easy to be the observer more often.
Oh, I love that.
That's
so powerful. I'm
That's
so glad
gold,
we got
yeah.
that. That is like crystal clear. Oh, that's
Life
wonderful.
changing.
Isn't that funny? We're gonna move on to the next questions, which I think is probably perfect in what you've been talking about. But what kind of things have happened or are happening to you and for you since you've been on this path of being more true to who you really are?
Oh my gosh. I wish people understood the magic that starts happening. The flow and the, like I said earlier, I've had just remarkable things happen to me out of nowhere. Like I always think, how exciting. I wonder what the universe is gonna give, provide, or what's the next thing I'm going to celebrate. So I celebrate in advance. I know this is weird, but I do. And so I often have a glass of champagne or rosé or something, bubbly rosé, and I say, "Oh, I'm so excited about what's coming next," because I think
love
that
that.
vibration, honestly, some amazing. Years ago, I just had this random lady contact me from New York, offering me a book deal to do a book about gratitude. These things don't just. I wasn't trying to get that to happen.
Yeah.
These things just come to me. The things that I've won, I have won so many things, and like big things, like a $65,000 home package once, or a whole family set of bikes, and it's because, and I say to my boys, it's because I say, I'm always winning.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
My life, I'm a winner, like they just, and I do really think, like, you start to get into a certain level of energy, and things just flow, and remarkable people turn up. And sometimes I found, actually, people that I haven't necessarily liked straight away and been a little bit suspicious about potentially have ended up being absolute gems in my life.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny how those things, not like people that are conflicting or causing me dramas, but people that I've been a little bit unsure of. If I always kind of feel like people come for a reason. It's either a lesson or there's something that you're meant to do, you're guided to meet in some way. And so some of the cards are about exactly that. Somebody new is going to come in to your life, and something wonderful, be open to that, because something wonderful could come from that. Because sometimes I think a lot of us are quite closed off. I don't want any more friends, or see, my father was he is an amazing guy, because he's always open for something new, like, oh, this could be a great opportunity. He always sees opportunities, and he sort of gifted me that. And he'd always say to me, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And so just try it anyway. And I think that's been a really helpful thing for me in my life, because I've always thought, oh, well, what's the worst that can happen? Nobody would buy that book, or, we invested a lot of money and time, and, but nobody's, my father would always say, you'd always have somewhere to come home to and food on the table. So what's the worst? That's really not the worst if you lost that job, or, and I guess that's, again, being the observer and putting things into perspective and going, like, if I have a meal every night with my children at the table, and I'm constantly, how good is this? How lucky are we? And my kids, they have me and their dad, like, breathing and living that around them all the time. So they really get it. They understand.
I think it's a really beautiful lesson for our listeners too, and for us. Around, sometimes you have to change to get change. It's like a lot of us want to stay in the same pattern or the same way of being, because we're so used to it, and we're scared of kind of moving over here a little bit, because we don't know.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's unknown. It's like we have to get uncomfortable to find the magic, so to speak. It's like sometimes the magic's outside of the comfort zone. That's a great saying, but it's so true too. Sometimes you have to step outside of that.
You don't need to know what magic's coming. Just be like ready to accept it, because I'm always like, wow, what's going to happen next? And I'm quite shocked a lot of the time at what unfolds. I really am. It's not what I expect, but it's amazing. And see, at the moment, I've had a period of a bit of challenge in that things that I thought certain deals were going to happen, and they haven't. And I got a bit frustrated. And again, my husband and I are very good at going back, observing and going, maybe that didn't happen for a reason. Maybe because there's something else that needs to happen, and just wait. I think we always want that certainty. We want the answers. We want to know where we're going. But sometimes just, you know, surrendering to it all and just allowing it to happen as it's meant to, instead of fighting all the time to regain control or like know, you know, what's happening, just letting it all go and surrender.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful, Beck. And I love what you're saying about not needing a reason to celebrate life. Like, you know, it's why is it not our default button or position to be celebrating life, as opposed to waiting for life to happen to celebrate it?
Yeah.
And
yeah. I'm so about that. I do it all the time. My mate Craig and his wife and all of us, we celebrate all the time, because I'm like, we have to celebrate everything.
Yeah.
I just, you know, you don't know when things are going to end. You don't know what's around the corner. And it just lifts your vibration into this really, you know, like there's so much to celebrate. I celebrate the bees that are all over my lemon flowers at the moment that are blossoming, and I'm just like, oh my God, I get so happy about, like I said, finding the extraordinary and the mundane and the ordinary, because, you know, you just get this happiness and this well, it's not even happiness for me, it's like this level of contentment that I feel the more I am connected to me and the earth.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And I, you know, having a glass of champagne in advance, you know, like we all struggle with, you know, we have had conversations around, you know, when you're moving into spiritual space, or, you know, honoring ourselves, finding a better way of being in alignment, whether alcohol or those sort of things fit into it, and everyone's to the different. But I think that
it's not about what you do or how you do it. So
exactly that. Yes.
We love celebrating the solstice, you know, the summer solstice or the winter solstice, and so it's celebrating. And see, a lot of this is what we've lost with society, is those things that we would have been doing, where we would have celebrated. We would have celebrated the change of season and the abundance that's coming in as we're moving into summer, and all the berries and all the trees are laden with fruit, and you would have celebrated that. And we do that we do a chocolate fondue, and we have all the fruits and we dip it into the chocolate. And then in winter, and this is very much from Laura from Craig's. See, and this is why I needed to meet her, my wife, because she loves all these kinds of things, the old ways of and having rituals and in your life, you know, of times where you know, we always celebrate winter solstice with a cheese fondue, you know, and they do the I don't like it, that mulled wine, you know, and they drink that, and you know, and that's over winter is a time to signify to, you know, it's time to chill out and take some time. You don't have to rush anymore. And do it your way, but celebrate. And I think it's really good to have these times where you do it every year at certain times, or you do it every week on a Friday, my cheat day, and I can have some pizza and a champagne or whatever, and I celebrate my life in the week and being alive. And
and as you say, like the rituals connect us back into our present moment and our changing environment and what is around us,
and the earth, you know, and she's teaching us all the time. She teaches us lessons every, you know, you just look outside and there's something she's sharing with us. And I think the Indigenous, you know, cultures, they recognize that, and you know, that the ones that have been able to survive, and you know, but for a lot of us in Western society, that's been lost. And I think that's why, you know, going back to, you know, these solstices and things like that, that's where we connected with the earth again, and we're grateful for what she provided to us. And you know, that in autumn when the leaves fall, it's that letting go. And you know, she's
beautiful.
Wonderful.
So what have you decided to because I love what you said about the champagne, but it's like the whole relationship you have with it. It's like, not if you're in a negative state, and what you were sharing with your boys, if you're in a negative state, negative energies, you know, things affect you in different ways. celebrating life, celebrating the champagne, and it creates more abundance, more happiness, and imbibing is not necessarily a bad thing when it's in balance and in harmony with all that is happening in that moment. So what have you decided to change, if anything, in your life as you're stepping into this celebration of your life?
So for me, it's about allowing maybe more space for me. So as a mother, it's really hard because I'm always running around and being of service. I always say I love to be of service to my family. Like I actually do. I used to sort of resent having to do things and, I've got to do everything. And now I again be that observer and go, how lucky am I to have my children and to be able to provide and do these things for them. And I, really trying to make a shift with that, but also allowing myself time so that I can have my personal rituals that I want to create. I get so busy, running a publishing company and homeschooling my boys. My middle son has autism, which is why we homeschool, but, that I need time for me. So, and that's okay. And that's my time to connect back again, to have that deeper connection with myself that allows me to do all the things that I can do for everybody else and be of service to others. So I need that time, and I need to change that, and I am changing that, and not feeling guilty about it, and actually realizing that allowing me that space then allows me to be better for everybody around me.
So beautifully said.
Yeah.
There's so many mums out there that will resonate big time with what you've just said.
It's easier now that my youngest is 10. I've got 10, 14, 16. So, it isn't that easy when they're little, but, but whenever you can, you need to, allow a little bit of time for you. Yeah. Whether that's journaling or whether that's just lying on the grass outside or hugging a tree or, I grew up encouraged to hug trees.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm from New Zealand myself. Is it a New Zealand thing, do you think?
Hug trees? I'm not sure. So, because it was actually, again, my auntie, Scottish, born in Scotland, Scottish.
Yeah.
She hugged trees. And actually my nana, again, she would hate anyone picking flowers because she'd say the plant's screaming, just leave it on there for the bees. And she was very much like, no, don't cut flowers. And they were quite funny about like that. It's again, that's what I was taught, was like, if you hug the tree, it gives your energies combine. I have a prayer that I put in, which is a very ancient Celtic prayer in the intuition book, which is about becoming connected with other objects. So whether it's a stone or a tree, and it's a way of like a meditation, a prayer of becoming one with either a person or whatever it is. But I think in a way, my Scottish side, my nana and my aunties and that, they taught me those things without realizing, so yeah, we definitely, I think it's a Scottish thing. We taught to hug trees. And see, my nana grew up in the Gorbals. There were not even grass. It was concrete. It was
wow.
Of course.
absolutely awful. Like,
wow, and for her to be that woman that she was in that environment is so powerful. You don't realize how powerful it is, especially
she would have had a horrendous journey that made her the light that she ended up being.
Absolutely.
So we have to remember that through those struggles and the darkness, that we actually are being taught or taken somewhere that we need to go to make us vulnerable and be able to make space for others. And I feel really grateful that I went through what I went through. I'm lucky to be here. I really am. Like, there was so many close calls for me. But I'm grateful for it now. It was horrible at the time, but it has led me to this place. I could never have thought that at the time. But, if people are struggling right now, it'll be for a reason. I really believe that. It'll be for a reason.
It's the breakthrough, isn't it? It's the breakthrough. They're having their own personal breakthrough.
Yes. And you got to just keep doing the work. You got to keep And that's where with the if you're able to, and that's what this book is. It's not even what's in it. It's like, hey, everyone, wake up. Come back to you. Come back to you. It's all in you. You have all the answers. They're right there within you. You just need to find yourself. She's in there. She's in there
so
waiting.
beautiful.
Well, like you said about seeing that reflection of yourself in the car window, not being afraid to look at ourselves when we look in the mirror and smile at ourselves, and even use that as an opportunity to tap into our observer or say hello and see if the observer's there. The little signs that are around us,
and she speaks to us, or God speaks to us, or whatever, and it was very much in whispers and you can't hear it, but the more you connect, it's louder, you can hear her clearer. And there's all the answers we need are there. Sometimes we want answers to things that we don't need the answers to right now. It's like you said, it's frustrating, but you just have to again trust,
I agree. So beautiful.
Favorite word at the moment.
And just on the tree thing, I think the trees love probably even more that we hug them.
Well, did you know that because in some of the books I teach kids about forest bathing, and the trees emit oils that actually boost our immune system. So we are working together, whether we realize it or not, and science very slowly comes and teaches us stuff we already know. So, again, we know these things inside. We know that we hug a tree, we feel good. And I think that's, again, being that observer. When I do this, how do I feel? Like giving yourself that space and acknowledging, oh, that feels great. Just like with my 10-year-old son, it's like, notice when you do this, what happens,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
very
powerful learnings right there.
And as you said, like it's not easy when you're in a world of pain to do it, but just the smallest little bit, the next day a tiny bit more, just keep trusting in yourself, like you've so beautifully said, just to keep tapping away at it.
Building that muscle of intuition. So the next question is, apart from hugging trees, what do you do now to support yourself with staying in the moment?
Staying in the moment. I find that quite easy, actually, because before it was a big thing. One of my skills I had to learn was mindfulness, and we had to sit with a group of us every week. This was over 2 years, and mindfully look at whatever they put in the middle of the table. And I used to hate it, and I just didn't understand it. And then we'd have to look. It might have been a potted plant, but you couldn't use any judgment. So you'd say the plant is green, the pot is white, so you couldn't criticize. You couldn't say I don't like, whatever. It was just as it is right now. What can I see? And it was the start of teaching mindfulness, like being in the moment. So then it got to, how do I feel sitting in the chair? The chair's quite hard. And it seemed really stupid. But as the weeks went on, months probably, I started to understand what it was teaching me and how powerful it actually was. I can do it quite easily now. I really can. I just I'm so grateful that I went through that, and again I resisted and I thought it was rubbish, but it's being able to, and I do it every morning really when I have a cup of tea, and I go, because I'm part lizard. I love the sun. I love the sun.
So do we.
And charge myself. So I go and sit with my cup of tea and my feet on the grass outside with the sun on me. Hopefully that's most days, but and I am totally in the moment. That's bliss to me. That is absolute my time, and I'm just totally in the moment.
I love that. I was going to simplicity. That's a beautiful word, because
we don't make it complicated.
No, it doesn't have to be complicated or extravagant or take hours. It can be as simple as your feet.
Take your shoes off and put them in the grass and just notice how the grass feels under your feet. So one of the children's books which I wrote was with Craig was called Finding My Calm, and that's for little kids. And that is mindfulness using our senses. So 5 things I can see, 4 things I can feel. And it's like a little chart that they do, but it's saying, what can I see? You know, you don't judge, you just say, I see a green plant, I see a, you know, this, that, and then what can I feel? And it just completely grounds you. It can be really, really easy. But that was a book that I wanted, again, little snippets of the things that I got taught into a book that teaches kids early to find a way back to being calm and mindfully, you know, being back in yourself, present. Yeah.
Oh,
Such a gift.
beautiful.
And I mean, even I can really get the sense of, as the parent or the adult is reading the book with the child, it's a gift for both people experiencing that moment together, isn't it? And that's very, very, very powerful.
So we have emails saying parents like, oh, I cannot believe what's happened to my child. They now go, I need to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as I'm melting down.
That's so beautiful. You're gonna have to write a book on monsters, because my grandsons are like, Minnie, there's monsters that come out in the dark, and I'm like, how do I explain there's no such thing as monsters, and where does the concept come from? You know, then I think, well, you know, who knows?
Maybe
in Let It Go, we have make friends with the fear. So that fear is actually our friend and is trying to protect us. And although it's scary, it's actually trying to help you and to make friends with it. And actually, I had another mum message me saying her daughter was terrified of learning to ride her bike, and that she had read the book Let It Go. It's about ways to release emotions. And she said that she decided, no, she was going to make friends with the fear. And she said to me that she got on her bike and started riding. She yelled out, I made friends with the fear. And I was just, sometimes I get so overwhelmed with the messages we get from all, you know, some of them are simple ones like that. Others are like really tragic, where kids are dealing with cancer or whatever, and the books are helping them. But you know, like every one of them, I'm like, this is why I went on this path, and it led me to do this, because every message like that is worth it.
So worth
so
it.
beautiful.
We've had some, like, I mean, a lot of the language around the last few years is you know, it's always been the case. Our children are our future. They are everything. Today's children are the leaders of tomorrow. And when you hear what you're saying about your books and what you're gifting the children, the play, the imagination, the fun, the opportunity to be in touch with themselves at such a young age.
I want kids to realize that no matter what emotion they're experiencing, that's okay, because that's what I didn't get. So I felt shame for whatever emotions I was feeling, and that they are messages. Our body is a message from our source. It's telling us things, you know, it's saying something's not right, and we can feel that through emotions and through our body, and it's trying to communicate that way to us. And so I hope that children, if they're able to learn more about how they feel and that it's okay, they have that deeper connection with themselves right from the start, and that it isn't lost. Wow. And they don't have to fight their way back to it like I did.
That's a beautiful way to end. We're so grateful to have you on and share your beautiful awakening story. It's just been really profound. And I know that there'll be a lot of parents out there who'll be like, where do I get these books from? So we will pop all of that at the end of the podcast, all of Beck's Instagram handles, her website where you can buy the books.
We could easily talk to you another 5 hours.
Yes. It's been so beautiful, Bex, and we're so happy that you know, pushed through the fear and became this incredible author and writer and creator of these magnificent books that are now helping others, you know, face their own journey around the world.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you too. It's been an absolute honor. Really has. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.